Now, the Subway Final Word.
Good evening, I'm Albie Oxenrider, and yes, this is the Subway Final Word, the show that invites you, the fans, into the conversation. You can get your opinion on TV right here on Channel 11 every Sunday night. And let's get started by introducing you to the three panelists for tonight. The afternoon host at 105.9 The X, Mr. Mark Madden, back with the Megatron 2000.
The Maddentron 2000, please.
Whatever it's called. Dejan Kovacevic, Trib columnist. How are you, Dejan?
Hi, Albie.
And Rob Rossi, just back from Boston, Penn's writer for the Trib. Wow, we have a lot to talk about tonight. The big topics: Steelers effectively eliminated after a loss to the Dolphins. What can be gained from the final 3 games of the season? The reports are out that the Steelers will be docked a draft pick for Tomlin's kickoff misstep last week. And what should the punishment be for Sean Thornton after his attack of Brooks Orpik? Topic 1, what do you think about the penalty against Coach Tomlin, including that lost draft pick? Dan's up first.
Well, the first thing that I think about it, Albie, is let's hear it. I mean, what is the NFL hiding from here? What is the point of saying, well, maybe, possibly, we'll do this at the end of the season? Just come out and say it. What is it that they're afraid of? The blowback? The backlash? I don't get that part of it. Look, I said all along that I didn't like the idea of a draft pick being involved unless you can come up with some kind of proof that leads toward intent. They have nothing of the kind. They've actually acknowledged that through a spokesman. They don't have intent. So what are they doing here? They've already issued a very strong fine and $100,000 that matches up with an equal penalty for a New York Jets assistant deliberately, visibly tripping a guy a couple years ago. Come on. Let's hear what the punishment is so that we can have a real discussion on it.
Rob Rossi, $100K and a lost draft pick. What do you think?
Here's why I like it. The $100,000 is a penalty to Mike Tomlin, but the draft pick is a penalty to the Steelers, and I think that's important. You have to issue penalty to the team that employs the coach that committed this act. It's not something the NFL can tolerate. I applaud them for not cowering to the power of the Rooneys, to the prestige of the Steelers, and treating this like they would perhaps other lesser organizations. I applaud them for this. I think it's the right move.
All right, Mark Madden.
$100K and a draft pick lost is a very fair punishment for a rules violation that very nearly directly affected the outcome of a very important game. Dejan's right. They couldn't judge intent. Intent doesn't matter. Tomlin was standing somewhere he shouldn't. The gamblers didn't like it, that's for sure. The Steelers covered because the Ravens got no touchdown. The NFL cringes at any level of impropriety, whether it affects the actual score or the score after the point spread's figured in. I thought the most intriguing thing about the Tomlin sideline two-step was his demeanor at the press conference that followed thereafter. Not right after the game, but his Tuesday press gathering, where Mike Tomlin either came across as sincere as he ever has or as phony as any human being ever has. You be the judge. We'll see which Mike Tomlin shows up this coming week.
Hang on. So both of you guys, if I read this correctly, you're saying that there's intent. You think that there's proof of intent here?
No, there's not proof of intent. My opinion is there was intent.
But you can't fine and penalize based on opinion.
I'm fairly sure they can and are.
He was where he shouldn't have been. He was in jeopardy of impacting a play in an NFL game. There's only one of these a week. You absolutely have to come down against the coach and the organization if you want to send the message that this is not what we're going to tolerate. That's the message they sent.
32 coaches every week are on that sideline.
But none directly affected the outcome of a game.
Unless you
this
have
guy
intent.
Almost did.
Unless you have intent, you got nothing.
That's nonsense, obviously, because they fined him and are going to cost the team a draft
Hey, look at the bright side.
The way they had something.
The way they draft, docking them a pick might be a good thing.
Right, maybe they can give back Landry Jones.
A reminder to keep the comments coming. You can find us on Twitter at WPXI Final Word, on Facebook at The Final Word. What do you think about that punishment? Well, we have one tweet that says Tomlin should be fired for that stupid move.
Oh, boy.
We thank you for that comment, and we move on to topic number 2. 34 points is the most the Dolphins have scored all season. Topic 2, is the Steelers' problem on defense more about players or the coaching? What do you think, Rob?
Well, it's a lot easier to be a great coach if you have great players, and I truly wonder how many great players the Steeler defense has compared to those Super Bowl units. I mean, just look at the guys that were on those 3 Super Bowl teams compared to what they have now, the guys other than Troy Polamalu do not measure up. And I mean, it's a lack of talent. I do think it's fair to be curious if Dick LeBeau's scheme is still as effective as it was over the previous 20 years, but over 20 years, you're going to lose some effectiveness with your scheme. You need great players to play that defense. They don't have them.
Mark?
3 words. Old, slow, done. Troy Polamalu has forgotten how to tackle. When that guy makes mistakes like that, along with a bunch of errors in judgment today, Ike Taylor once again missing in action. Ryan Clark almost knocked him out, but I'm here to report. X-rays of Ike Taylor's head showed nothing. I'm just glad the Steelers are finally all but mathematically eliminated. Yet, on some of the post-game shows today, I heard saying, well, if this team loses and that team loses and the Steelers do this and they win out, they never were any good to begin with. They never had a chance.
I'll get you a couple of guys in specific that I think have been disappointments on the defense. One, to me, he's actually been the biggest disappointment of anybody on the team has been Cortez Allen. This is a guy who was supposed to be the guy who let you forget about Keenan Lewis as soon as he was gone. That's turned out to be a mistake by Steelers management. Lewis has been a terrific player in New Orleans. Cortez Allen has been anything but. He was embarrassed today all day long. Another guy, and this is somebody we don't talk about as much anymore, but Lawrence Timmons is coming off a terrific year last year. Today, when the Steelers really needed to shut down the run, they let a Miami team in the snow, process that phrase again, a Miami team in the snow run for 180 yards. Lawrence Timmons had 5 total tackles, 4 solos. Inexcusable.
It's kind of like losing to Eskimos in the desert.
Your tweets and your Facebook posts will continue to scroll down the left side of your screen. On defense, is it the players or coaching? Here's a comment on that. Just an all-around mess. LeBeau has been successful before, so you have to blame some of the players. Thanks for the tweet, and we'll be back with more of your tweets and more of the show right after this.